Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas. It's the Joe Rouge Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
All right, hey folks, this is Joe Rouge. It is 19:04 hours on Monday, the 22nd of September, 2025. And it is great to be with you guys once again from the Pimple on the backside of Texas, the beautiful city of Eagle Pass. And we are going to do the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we can muster without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rouge Show. Well, folks, it is Monday. Another week together. Looking forward to spending another week with truly amazing guests, amazing conversation, and important topics of discussion. So, folks, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. And I really hope you were able to catch the show on Saturday, the live show we did Saturday with our resident crypto psychic, Marissa Lee. Talked about a bunch of things. We talked about Algorand, and we talked about XRP, ICP, a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that are going to be pretty hot to come by in the upcoming months. So I hope you were able to check that out. And it was really very informative. As always, I always take notes. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I always take notes during the course of the show when we do it with her, because so far, everything that she's told me to get, she's been spot on with, man. So it's been pretty good. Really, really happy with that. And I hope you guys are too. And I hope you're able to check it out. And then, of course, Sunday, we did our Sunday Bible study show. We talked about, we're going through a series right now on wisdom, and we're teaching through the book of Proverbs. So that's a lot of fun. And yesterday's show, we talked about the wisdom of soul winning, the wisdom of soul winning. Remember, the Bible says, he that winneth souls is wise. So great conversation with that yesterday too. I thoroughly enjoyed that lesson. It was a lot of fun. And then tonight we have a guest waiting for us in the wings here. We'll bring him on here momentarily. His book is right here, National Divorce. He was actually our fourth or sixth guest on the show. So we're talking back in January of this year. So he's a returning guest to the show. So we're looking forward to talking with Jason Fry when we can bring him on up. All right. But of course, as always, before we do anything, we have some housekeeping that we do need to do. So head over to the website, joerouge.com. There we go. If this thing works tonight, joerouge.com. Just head over to the website and go to the contact section, open up the web form that's right there, and just click on that thing and send us over a message. Let us know whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you might have, any issues you might be having, any complaints you might be having. There better not be any complaints, but if you do have one, send them on over to us and let us know. You could also let us know if there's a particular topic that you'd like to discuss on the show, because we would love to hear from you guys on that as well. We generally get a lot of that when we do our Tuesday show with our sponsor, Ezra Healing. It's always a lot of fun, and love getting the questions and comments from you guys for that. So send them on over. Let us know what you think. And if you don't want to use the web form, totally fine. You can always email me directly at info@joerouge.com. That's info@joerouge.com. Or you can drop a comment somewhere down over there, and we'll make sure we get to that as well. Or you can actually drop something in the comments in the live chat. Not that we get many folks using the live chat, which is fine. That's okay. Cowards, but try it out. You never know. It might be a lot of fun. All right, so try it out. Anyway, after you do that, just make sure you look for the support button. All right, because we do depend on your support to help us, float the bills. And this is a value for value show. And all that simply means is that if you receive anything of value from what we're doing here, we're asking that you return that value to us in the form of a donation. And that could be your time, your talent, your treasure. It could be all three. It could be 1, 2, whatever it is. Whatever your means allow you to do, we appreciate the effort that you're putting into it. Now, We'll tell you all about the different tiers and stuff such that we have, our producers and so on and so forth at the end of the show, like we always do. And if you have the means to do it, we'd appreciate it if you could help us out. All right. And that brings us down to our sponsor for tonight's show, Ezra Healing, EzraHealing.com. Folks, Ezra Healing is a substantial part of the new wellness paradigm currently being born in North America and around the globe. The global citizenry are no longer satisfied with the sick care version of so-called healthcare. Band-Aid medicine, endlessly treating symptoms rather than root causes, must be abandoned as soon as possible. Patient-centric care must be the priority. We need to transition to the do no harm model of private care that places humanity at the forefront of real health and wellness care. In this new model, your entire lifestyle is examined and analyzed to promote and support the totality of your body's integrated systems. Ezra Healing is a solutions-based health promotion and disease prevention grassroots movement that is always evolving to best serve you and your family. So for more information, just head over to EzraHealing.com. That's EzraHealing.com. They have some great products, great programs and such that they're offering right now, especially if you can check out their BAM that's going on, the binaural audio meditation program they're doing. Great stuff. Tried it out just a couple of days ago and really, really did enjoy it. It was something I used to use binaural beats quite a bit back in the day, but kind of drifted away from that a little bit. And now here we are, we're doing it again. And it is a tremendous program. So you need to check it out. It's all right there on EzraHealing.com. And last but not least, American Hemp Hub. Don't forget to check them out as well. Head over to the AmericanHempHub.com. Check out all the great products that they offer. You have to be over 21. And if you use promo code ROOZ, ROOZ, at checkout, on any order over $40, you get free shipping and a free doob tube. So check it out. Can't say it without laughing, but check it out. It's a great product, great company, and it's just really good stuff. So check them out. AmericanHempHub.com, AmericanHempHub.com. All right. Now, tonight, I need a drum roll track. I got to do that. I got to get one of those things. But tonight we have with us again Jason Fry, a sixth generation Texan who joined us back in January of 2025 to talk about his book, National Divorce: A Plan for Peace. He's a behavior analyst by day. Jason crafts custom knives on weekends, blending function and artistry. He was also a Forged in Fire runner-up, season 5, episode 26, by the way. He's president of the Texas Knifemakers Guild and author of Knife Making Hacks. Jason and his wife both live in Wolford, Texas, along with their 4 boys. His daily life is spent balancing family, faith, and passions like hunting and fishing. He is also a supporter of Texas independence. For many years. Jason now openly champions state sovereignty, advocating practical, peaceful steps for a national divorce. Jason, it is great to have you back here on the Joe Rue Show. It is fantastic. Now, a lot has changed since you've been with us last. So the name of the show has changed. The layout here has changed. We're doing video instead of just audio. So quite a bit has changed. But
what you said about where I'm from changed.
Oh, did it really? Okay. Well, we'll have to talk to Anonymous Angela about that because that's what she sent me for your bio. So,
yep, all good.
So, what's going on with you, brother? How you been? It's been a while, man. You look great. You look fantastic. You look like you've been living the good life.
Know that for sure. But no, things are going well. I've been out on the podcast circuit again, just talking to folks like you with the same message, honestly, that I've been saying for a while, that America seems to be, and that's air quotes, it's really obvious, America seems to be fairly divided already.
Absolutely. I think it's getting worse. One thing, though, brother, you are frozen in place right now. And
that's bad.
At least you're smiling, though, in the freeze.
Okay. So, I'm frozen smiling, but you can hear the audio?
Yeah, got the audio clear as day. So
I can see I'm moving, but
you might be moving on your end, but on this end, all I see is a big cheesy smile.
That's bad. Well, I can be cheesy. That is sort of what I do.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
Let
All
me
right.
see.
Well, hopefully your internet will clear up a little bit, and we'll get you back on here. You're on Wi-Fi or you're on your data
I'm, act-
plan?
I'm actually on Wi-Fi, so it should.
Interesting. Well, there you go. You're moving again.
Okay. Well, cool. Sure. Thanks, Elon Musk, for Starlink.
Oh,
Uh,
are you using Starlink?
I am. I'm slightly rural now, a little
Okay.
20 miles away from town, and so there were not many options.
All right. And this is the quality of Starlink that we see, huh?
Well, yeah. Some of it.
Well,
Some of it.
I was actually thinking about, because where I live, my internet goes out quite regularly,
Mm,
and 9 out of 10 times it's usually 5 to 10 minutes before the show starts.
right.
So I was thinking about actually, and there's no other provider in my area right here that I can get. I was actually looking at Starlink, but
No, I don't mind endorsing it. We have had it for 3 months now, and kind of like you said, every other provider has said, no, we don't even have service out there. So
Mhm.
not too bad.
Well, it looks bad, but it may not be bad. I'm just messing with you, brother. Well, you're frozen again, but that's okay. We'll carry on here. So one of the new things that we do with the show is that we like to ask some questions to kind of get the audience to know a little bit more about you.
Sure.
So what's something about you that most people don't know but should?
Ooh, they don't know. Again, you already gave away most of my good secrets. So I have a couple of master's degrees, and I work actually in state government. I do nerd stuff all day long. And so usually when I say also I make knives, like people think that's new and amazing. But you gave me that in the intro. Let's see. I've written 4 books, including this one. I got nobody knows this. I got a 5th one on the way.
All right.
It is another knife making book. But what else do people not know? I bass fish. I used to tournament fish a lot. People don't know that because I lived in the desert for the last 8 years and pretty much gave it up. But
I think that would be probably prudent to try to have to give that up.
on out there. But when I moved a couple months ago, I moved 3 minutes from the lake on purpose.
Nice.
So it is literally 3 minutes to the boat ramp. So I'm trying to regain my old self.
You're spending more time fishing again?
A little bit. So
Nice.
I don't have to shop at my new place. I'm having to build that. I'm in the process of just got put in doing slab next month, and I'm right in it. So yeah, I can't make a knife right now, so I might as well go to the lake.
All right. I still want to get a knife from you though, because I've seen some of the work you do, and it's amazing work. So I have to get one. So what's your go-to beverage to help you unwind at the end of the day?
I'm a sweet tea guy. I mean, I grew up Churches of Christ, man. We don't we don't do much of that.
That's okay. That's all right. There aren't very many guests that I ask the question of that actually come back with anything other than usually water. I've got a couple of Mountain Dews.
Yeah.
I got a couple of a glass of wine here or there and whatnot, but
tonight.
I've slowed down on my bourbons, so I'm not doing the bourbons so much. And it was interesting when I slowed down with the bourbon, all my hair fell out. So, no, seriously though, but right, like tonight I am having my green tea with honey and lime, and it's doing well. It's all right. We're good. It's I like I said, I got carried away with the bourbons, and it was just way too much, and not like it was out of control, like I was like an alcoholic or anything like that, but it was expensive. So so we ended up so I had to kind of ease my way out of that a little bit. So this is good. It's either coffee or tea now. So it's not bad. It's not too bad. So Jason, you're a dad. You juggle work, knives, church. When do you carve out any time just to breathe and think, big picture stuff like independence?
So on my commute sometimes, honestly, in between things, but no, to me, all these things are sort of tied in together. I mean, that's why I'm constantly stewing some of the other idea. So I have 4 sons. I've got 20, 21, and 8-year-old twins. Okay. So when it comes down to somebody on Twitter spouting off Civil War, it is my kids. Like two of my older men, my grown boys are in the military right now. Okay, so thinking about politics and war and let's not have a war and all that. I mean, that's the same as thinking about my kids to me.
Mhm.
So it's all right there. The other thing you mentioned was religion. So once upon a time, I was a youth minister. I went to basically seminary. We don't call it that in Church of Christ, but went to Bible college, got a master's degree in that, did that full time for 6 years. So the interchange of what is God trying to tell me today, or what does Scripture say about what I'm supposed to be doing today, or
Mhm.
what's God doing in the world right now, is a part of my default mode, kind of, right? So, I mean, I was raised that way, I was trained that way. So, um, to come to a point where I think maybe the government's not awesome, and maybe let's not have a war, and maybe my primary allegiance isn't to the flag, those kinds of things. Again, it all just meshes naturally in my head. It's a weird place to be, but that's where I am.
Well, I don't think it's a weird place to be. We have to look at government right now. Government is just out of control. The general government I'm talking about. Well, actually, the state government too. And I really kind of wanted to get into that a little bit with you because I know you're very Texas oriented. You're very interested in what's going on in the state here, and which you should be. Anybody in any state, wherever you live, you should be very interested in what's going on in your state house because that has a direct impact on you, more than what you might think the federal government has on you.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things that really drove me crazy with we'll talk Texas stuff first, and then we'll get into the rest of the world stuff. But one of the things that drove me nuts this last session of the Texas House is how much authority the Texas Republicans gave to the Texas Democrats, and how many issues of significance were pushed aside, tabled, and not even voted on. For example, one of the big debates right now is the property taxes. And I know Representative Brian Harrison, State Representative Brian Harrison, has been pushing to get this on the floor to do away with property taxes here in the state of Texas, but they won't even address that.
So it's actually in the Republican Party platform, and nobody seems to want to address it. Incidentally, also in the Republican Party platform is Texas independence, by the way. But your point is a valid one. Texas government has been read on paper for a long, long time. And yet we haven't had a speaker elected by the Republican caucus also in a long, long time, right? The fact that we need a multi-party coalition to elect our representative speaker in a majority situation is a little bit goofy.
It doesn't make much sense, but
does it? And here's my theory on that. I think that part of the problem is that Texas politicians are treating their current job like it's the JV team for the federal government. Okay.
That's a great point. That really is. That is a great point.
The Texas representative or senator, if you ask them, say, are you Texas first? Will you sign a pledge to work for Texas first? By and large, many of them will say no, which is inconceivable, right? You are a representative for Texas. Why would you not represent Texas first? Right? Why would your primary interest be what they're doing in DC or California or anywhere else in the universe if you're representing Texas in the legislature? Right. So I think that's a piece of the problem. Whether it's Dustin Burrows or Dave Phelan or Joe Strauss, part of it, they're trying to make Texas not look so whatever they think is bad. They're trying to make Texas fit in somehow on this national bipartisan gridlock mess. Right? I don't understand their motivations exactly, but it can't be to represent Texas or do what the voters are interested in. Well, my kids are losing their mind because I'm on a podcast.
I hear it. That's all right. You want to go take care of it, or
I can no more control my 8-year-old's misbehavior than I can the Texas legislature. So there's your segue back to content.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. See, that's the great thing about having a seasoned podcast veteran with you on the show, because they know how the little tricks to get you redirected.
But now, so when it comes to, Texas politicians doing Texas stuff, they're bad at it. Some of my friends that are not as pro-independence as me or you, they'll say, well, the Texas government, man, they're lousy too. Why do you want them to be in charge? Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not wrong. My hope is that in an independent Texas, when we're not beholden to outside funding, when we're not beholden to outside political influence, that these guys can get their crap together, honestly. We, on the national level, people have thrown a fit about even the appearance of Russian interference in our election process, right? Even the hint of that has caused major turmoil. And yet, we're not allowed to throw that same kind of shade at Californians financing Texas candidates, right? You would have never heard the name Beto O'Rourke without out-of-state money. And we're supposed to be okay with that, right? So that's a piece of my answer to how do we deal with the Texas government being also ineffective. Is we're still participating in some pretty dadgum ineffective systems. We're tolerating things for ourselves, like out-of-state money, and not being dedicated to who you're actually representing. We're tolerating that amongst ourselves in ways that I don't think we will as much should we be independent. So anyway.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned California, because this is a question that's kind of been on my mind for a little while. Is why does the state of California have a tax collection agency here in Texas?
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't have any jurisdiction on Texas income, personally. They seem to. I mean, California has banned everything, right? You look every label you'll ever find on anything is this is known to cause cancer in the state of California.
Right.
I think they weren't they the pre-inventors of the mandated gas cans?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, they're terrible. Kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. But the problem here too is that you have another issue with California and Texas is you have all these people fleeing California and they're coming to Texas, right, and they're bringing their California failed policies and politics with them.
That is partly true. I also know some political refugees from California, and New York is people that are, from Northern California. The guy that I'm talking about was literally a pig farmer. Okay. And then he worked as a school maintenance man. Like, this is not, not too snooty by any stretch. And he moved here because we understand pig farmers and maintenance men a lot better than Los Angeles does.
Okay. It makes sense.
There are a group of folks that move here from Northern California in particular that don't necessarily bring with them the baggage. That said, a lot of the tech folks moving in for computer stuff, a lot of people who made a bunch of money selling a house and want to live someplace cheaper that's still awesome, they're bringing their baggage with them. But, I've always felt a little bit like you have a responsibility to make your house, but that only extends to the area that you control, right? So if I'm going to move to Switzerland, I'm not going to make all my neighbors speak English if they don't. Right? I'm not going to say, I'm bringing my dollars with me and forget y'all if you don't want to use them, right?
Right.
When you move someplace, you have a responsibility to either isolate or assimilate, in my mind. The problem with a lot of Californians is that they won't do either one.
I get you. As a matter of fact, I think this week, it might be Wednesday. I think I'm gonna have as a guest a gentleman who is running for Congress. Who, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the gentleman. He actually was a mayor in a town in California, and he moved here to Texas, and now he's looking to run for Congress to represent the district, and as part of the redistricting plan. I think he's 35, if I'm not mistaken. But I was trying to log into my calendar to take a look at it, but it's telling me I'm on a different device than it's used to, and it's going to make me go through all these checks, and I'm not going to have time. So So he's gonna be on the show this. I think it's this week. He's either Wednesday or Friday this week. And so, you have any questions that you'd like to be to throw towards him, you can check out the show or send them over to me, and I'd be happy to ask them for you. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to hear what he has to say. Now, in 2025, so far, Texas passed several bills signaling a push toward greater state sovereignty.
Mhm.
Which of those bills actually stand out as surprising in terms of passing? Like, what caught you off guard? Which didn't you think would pass?
So the gold depository thing is a couple of cycles ago, right? But
Mhm.
the fact that there are people in Texas government interested in what if this all goes sideways? Do we have sound money? Do we have a backup plan? Right.
Mhm.
Excited to see the Texas Stock Exchange come about in Dallas. We
Which I think
have,
is huge, by the way.
yeah, we have 27, 28 million people. We are the number 8 or 9 largest economy in the world by ourselves,
Mhm.
right? We should have those things. Um,
Agreed.
we should be prepared to function as well as we can without outside support, right? If we're already the 8th largest in the world, there's no reason that we need or that we couldn't have some redundancy built in, right? Because even though I hope America doesn't fail, I hope I win the lottery too. One of these is more likely than the other, right? I mean, we're,
True.
we're headed down a sketchy path. So everything Texas does to prepare for that, whether it's saber rattling at the border, saying, nope, we're actually going to take care of this ourselves because you guys seem incapable and incompetent. Whether it's redistricting or taxes or any of the things that a state can do, we should be thinking about what can we do that will set us up for better independence. So when Greg Abbott goes to Denmark or something or India, and he's doing economic partnership diplomacy kind of trips, some of us roll our eyes. Like people think that's silly, but then there's guys like me and maybe you that are like, heck yeah, he's making a deal in advance.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
sideways, I've got friends in India or Denmark, right?
Well,
Uh,
yeah, that's exactly when I saw the trips overseas and I saw the types
yeah,
of arrangements that were being made, even though most of them are mostly ceremonial. Um,
dark
that's huge. That's a very, very important step.
sky. Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
yeah. And now, prior to the election, the last election cycle, when President Trump was won re-election, I think that was in January of this year. You were on the show, I think, right before the inauguration,
It was.
and there was the country put a lot of hope in President Trump's election as a whole. You know, now here we are. We're talking about Texas independence. We're talking about you know. We were looking at during the course of the Biden administration, I think the push was even stronger because we saw how ineffective government could be, how oppressive government can be, how dangerous government can be to the individual. And so I feel like there was more of a momentum for organizations like the Texas Nationalist Movement, the push for state sovereignty, the push for this national divorce. And then President Trump comes in and puts the brakes on a lot of stuff. And there's seems to be a different feeling now within the country. Um, how do you think that affects these separation movements, these independence movements? Because
Yeah.
it's not just Texas. There are other states also that have these things in place and that are exploring these options. But I guess the thing is, now that the country is kind of moving into a better direction, how does that affect what we're trying to do?
Better for who, right? So our secessionist friends in California are fired up right now right? Because the government is doing the opposite of what they like, just like it was for us 2 years ago or 5 years ago, right? So that's number one, is that the impulse never goes away. It may shift sides a little bit, but the idea that maybe we would be better off on our own, or maybe we should take care of our own business, that never goes away. Um, But my real answer to that is that the fundamentals never change either, right? The weather may be sunnier today, but the climate is still terrible.
Right.
Pull an analogy out of nowhere. So the
Good one.
national the federal debt, I didn't own it. I didn't vote for it. They did it. It's federal. The federal debt continues to grow. What are we at? $37 trillion or something?
Yeah, it's close to it. Yeah.
And it did that under Trump the first time. It did that under Biden. It did that. It's still doing that under Trump now. The fact that we are headed towards an unsustainable, that we are already in an unsustainable spending environment.
Yeah.
That changed depending on what color jersey the leader was wearing, right? The fact that, there are some states that really do want abortions and free marijuana. There are other states that really do want low taxation and the government not to be involved in some things. There are even some states, I would say Texas is dangerously close to this, that want to enforce a conservative set of morals, right? So let's outlaw transgender in a bathroom, right? Let's outlaw some other moral thing. Again, that's a symptom, not a cause to me. So all of those symptoms that are making us divided, all those issues on which either the right or the left is challenged sometimes, the fundamentals of those haven't changed at all. Okay. The fact that, people have been asking, of course, with the Charlie Kirk tragedy last week, people have been asking the question of how does that impact national divorce or secession discussions? And my answer is it's one more. It's one more of a thing. Now, at some point, the camel will be too loaded and he will collapse. But we had a disputed election in 2020. We had the uninvited Capitol tour. We've had all kinds. It's never stopped. Okay. The fact that it was a popular guy this month, it was some state legislators out of Michigan or Montana, Michigan, 3 months ago. Right. The cycle of chaos is the part that we are in right now. Say sometimes that if America were in the book of Judges, we would be well past Samson and into the weird stuff. Right.
That's a great analogy, brother. I love that. I am going to steal that one from you.
Yeah,
that is great.
So,
that is great.
Past the point where the leaders that come up are good. We're even past the point where, like Samson, okay, sure, Samson did the world a favor. He also married a prostitute and ended up, killing himself. So we're even past the point of really flawed leaders that do a good job. We're off into the everything is chaos section.
You mean we're not in the best presidency ever? And you mean President Trump's not fixing everything all at once? I mean, come on.
But President Trump didn't mess up everything all at once either.
True that. Yeah. I was being facetious, by the way.
No, but part of my stuff that I deal with at work, right, is that if it took us 10 years to make this mess, I can't fix it in 2 weeks. Right. So
and that's a great point too, because I'll tell you honestly, I was talking to somebody, I think it was on Saturday's show, when I was talking with our resident crypto psychic. The point was that it took 4 years of the Biden administration to wreck the economy. You're not going to be able to fix it overnight. Right. It's going to take a few years. It's like you get an ocean liner, you get one of those big cruise ships out there in the middle of the ocean, and it doesn't stop on a dime. You have to slow down before you can turn it around. So it will take time. The question is, how much time is it going to take to fix it? And in reality, I don't see it getting fixed. I don't see the spending stopping. I see more money going to Ukraine. Another foreign intervention, something we should not be involved in the first place. And I know the president campaigned on getting us out of that and stopping all that stuff, but yet it still seems like the checks are going. There's a lot of things that have not been addressed. I think Pam Bondi is a disaster as the attorney general.
That I'd like to point out that have been a disaster. Administration one after another, right? That Trump doesn't solve. So ruling by executive order. Okay. So
yes,
not pass anything meaningful except omnibus spending bills. And they do that poorly. Okay. They have not changed any law in a while in any significant way.
That's true.
It's been the Supreme Court flip-flopping precedent, or it's been the presidents themselves directing differential enforcement of rules. So rule didn't change. We're just going to interpret it differently, right? And granted, that's their purview as the executive. I understand that. But that's not how this government is supposed to work, right?
No, it's not. Because all the executive orders, all of that stuff, all that does is bring more and more instability, because all the executive orders that Donald Trump is doing right now is all going to get overturned in the next administration, just like he overturned all of Biden's executive orders, just like Biden overturned all of his, and Obama. It never ends. There's no stability.
That's a symptom of the dysfunction of the whole system. Okay, so I don't get super caught up in, again, what jersey is the leader wearing today? Is he red or is he blue? That doesn't change the fundamental facts that America is still on an unsustainable trajectory.
Agreed.
So that's where I come in with honestly with this book. I've mentioned I have kids that are in the military. I don't want a civil war because that's my children fighting. I'm too old for this, right? I have also resigned myself to the fact that I will die in the first wave, because I will be out there in the middle saying, whoa, dude, chill out. We don't have to do this. And then somebody's going to shoot me, and that'll be the end of it, right? I mean, I get that about me.
Yeah, I get you. I understand that.
But yeah.
I would hope not to. I would hope to survive at least the first wave. Yeah. That's at least my plan. But and just for the record, so anybody listening, clipping all this stuff, we are not actively planning anything. This is just hyperbole here. We're just talking in abstracts.
Hypotheticals. And here's something that is not hypothetical to me, coming from those hypotheticals. Okay, so there must be people. There must be you. There must be me. There must be others that are willing to say something different besides the government is awesome and America's the best, and whatever brainwash propaganda, whatever. There have to be people that acknowledge that things are not that great and that there is real potential for disaster. You're from Eagle Pass, so y'all have Shelby Park in your town, right?
5 minutes away from where I live.
Exactly. So let's refresh that story in the minds of the listeners. So down there, 5 minutes from Joe's house, two years ago now, there was a park where the feds were letting people through willy-nilly from all over the place, no vetting, no anything. And the state of Texas did some research and figured out, well, that's a public park, but it's not a federal park. So they don't have automatic jurisdiction. So the state of Texas locked the park. They put up fences and closed the park down. They literally locked out the feds from the boat ramp they were using to put their boats on the river to watch people by and not stop them. And what you ended up with was Texans on one side of the fence, feds on the other side of the fence. Everybody's law enforcement carrying, right? Mm-hmm. And they're, oh, it's our park. No, it's our park, right? And I'm fully convinced and very happy that nobody intended violence out of the situation. Okay.
Oh, thank God for that.
Nobody wants to escalate. But I felt like at the time we were one bad guy in the bushes from everything going sideways. So we've seen the gangster movies where you get the two gangs lined up against each other, and they're all pull their guns out. You put it down. No, you put it down. And some little scared, bug-eyed kid in the back twitches, and then everybody dies instantly. Right? I mean, it's safe for a reason. I was afraid, and I am still afraid, that America is really, really close to that. As we continue to escalate and polarize, and as people keep killing people from the other side, again, totally against, but we're just getting closer to that time when everything goes nuts. In spite of everybody saying, calm down, no, you put yours down, no, I'll put mine down. There's going to be some time at which, metaphorically, not violently, things go totally sideways and we get out of control.
Yeah.
So that's coming from with this book is, if we see the dysfunction in the government, we see from both sides, we see the meddling and cultural issues from both sides. We see a trajectory that is not changing from one guy or one new president. I mean, you can't, the ship is too big. We're headed the wrong direction. If we see all of that, what are we going to do about it right now to make sure that it doesn't go sideways from one bug-eyed kid in the back or one bad guy in the bushes? So that's where I come in with the national divorce idea. So let's talk about it.
Now you describe this in a very clear way. you put it in the context of a marriage relationship,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and you basically say that there comes a point where all the flowers in the world, and I'm paraphrasing it, of course,
Yeah.
that all the flowers in the world aren't going to um, ease the tensions and the problems between in an abusive relationship.
Right.
And we are in an abusive relationship with the federal system,
Absolutely.
without a doubt. I mean, you have basically having, and I don't care, you can disagree with me on this or not, but taxation without any representation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Every single paycheck, the federal government has their sticky fingers in my paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And they're giving that money to places that I would never even consider
Correct.
giving my money to.
Yep.
And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. I'm not the only one who thinks
Right.
that way. I think the whole federal taxation system is immoral,
Mhm.
and it needs to come to an end. And I was very happy when I heard President Trump talking about abolishing the IRS. All of these tariff. What's the word? The word just flipped out of my head. All of these dividend checks from the tariffs that we've been collecting, so on and so forth, which I still haven't seen a penny. Have you
Right.
gotten your cut yet?
If we owe $37 billion, there is no such thing as a refund.
Trillion, yes, yeah.
One. I mean, it's pandering. It's the same pandering as the last guy.
Exactly. It's an abusive system.
Yeah, and that abuse perpetuates or continues regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, right?
Mhm.
So the Californians, man, we're spending federal money on stuff California doesn't want. Also, we're spending stuff, we're sending money overseas all over the place, right?
Yeah.
We're not taking care of our own people. And it doesn't matter, again, which side of the aisle you're on. That's still true, right? So we're to the point where, if this were a marriage, we're already in separate bedrooms. We're already running separate bank accounts. We may still live in the same house because we don't have a better idea right now, right? Most of our contact is negative. So in that kind of a scenario, there's not a ton of options. Now, let me point out two other things that I like to mention in this case. So number one, there is not a national marriage, right? My wife and I picked each other out of a crowd. We stood up before God and our friends and family and said, me and this one forever, till death do us part. There is no such thing between any of us and the United States federal government. Okay.
That's right.
So national divorce is a metaphor that does not imply like you're somehow unfaithful to your wife if you leave, right? That there's no national marriage. But another key point about divorce, though, is that we get it. We understand it's not an ideal outcome. It's not great. It's not what people wish they do. I mean, most people, I don't think, get married and think, man, I'm sure glad I got a good exit strategy on this one, right? I mean, most people come in with good intentions. But we understand, the reason I like this metaphor, we understand that it is an unraveling of a formal relationship based on nobody getting their mutual needs met anymore, right? So in a divorce, you've got assets to divide. You've got who gets custody of the kids or the cat. You've got who takes the debts, who takes the house. And all of that goes down all over the world, all over our country. And it's against the law to kill the other guy in that situation, right?
Right.
I still cannot beat you up and take the house. I still cannot kill you so that I can have the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no expectation. In fact, it's the opposite. There's an expectation that there is no violence in a divorce, right? Because that violence then becomes a separate criminal issue. That's why I like national divorce as a metaphor, right? Because we can get to this point where the differences are irreconcilable. Yeah. There is no other path forward besides separation. But we don't have to have a civil war. What the heck would we have to have one for? Right?
The interesting thing is that's the first thing, anytime you talk to somebody about Texas independence or any state's independence, that's the first thing they bring up is, well, so you're talking about another civil war. You're you're a seditionist, you're committing treason, and they throw all that stuff out at you. And that's not the case at all. The states voluntarily join the union; they can voluntarily leave the union.
Well, and they're arguing from a position of violence and coercion.
Exactly.
All that is, we won the war last time. We killed you more than you killed us. Okay. And so you lost by our violence being stronger than your violence. And therefore, you must stay, or else we will violence you again. That's not you understand what I'm saying? When they say Civil War, all they're saying is, we will kill you before we let you do that again. That's all it is. Right? They want to pretend like they're being all wise and saying, well, there's a historical precedent. Yeah, but the precedent's bad. It doesn't, we're not saying that. We're not advocating for any kind of violence at all. The opposite, in fact. The fact that they immediately go to violence tells us that the relationship is broken.
Yes.
Right? It tells us that this was bad to begin with. Because if their answer is, I'll kill you if you try to leave again, well, what kind of relationship is that? Who wants to be in that relationship, right?
Exactly.
So that response just reinforces my conviction that, we need to get away from these people.
It's time to go. Now, but here's the thing, though. Do you think that because obviously, and especially we see it now too with this whole horrible thing that happened with Charlie Kirk, there is a tension in the country. I mean, it is palpable. You feel it.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of how I can phrase the question. With all of the polarization, I guess is the word I'm looking for. With all the polarization that's taking place right now in the country as a whole, in this American Union that we're part of, because I like to refer to it like the European Union, the American Union. With the state of politics, with the state of the viciousness that goes on between the right and the left, what do you think? How would Texas independence shield us from that type of polarization? Do you think that that's possible?
I do, or I would be advocating for something else. But here's my take on that. Both sides of the aisle are facing these same issues, depending on who's in charge with cultural stuff. Let me chase a thread. Okay, so slavery, bad across the board, no denying that. But it was a very serious social issue at the time. And in the 10-year decade of bleeding Kansas, the time when they were fighting over whether Kansas would be a slave state or a free state, during that time of unchecked violence, there were about 250 people murdered. Just terrible stories of people literally killing their neighbors over this slavery issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then the government got involved and said, well, let's pick a side and let's fix this for the universe. And 650,000 more people were killed in that war. Right? So pure unchecked chaos, 250. Terrible. All of it bad. Government fix it. 500,000. Right? So over a social issue. Next, you get prohibition, right? So alcohol, it's bad. Let's ban it. Oh, wait, no, let's unban it because that was a dumb idea. And then you get segregation. You got some states, or seriously, let's ban interracial marriage, or let's ban black people from the water fountain. All the way down to silly levels. But the federal government said, no, I want a piece of that action. And they got in and made some determinations. And that didn't go too well. That's how we got the whole chaos of the 60s, right?
Right.
And then we got feminism, and now we've got the transgender stuff. And my point is not that there's a right or wrong to any one of those issues. My point is there will always be social tension because the government will always stick its neck into social issues that are nobody's business. That doesn't change. Right? So that's a piece of it. When we are able to separate into more homogenous groups, the external authority cannot come and violate my sincerely held beliefs quite as easily, right? They can't say this thing that I believe is fundamentally right now we're going to call it wrong. Right?
Right.
They've done in slavery and prohibition and feminism and segregation. Pick an issue. Doesn't matter which side you're on. The government steps in and picks a side. If we were homogenous, that wouldn't happen as much. And I think that the political tension that we have, the polarization that we have right now, comes from that history, right? California is mad because Texas wants to ban abortions, right? Texas is mad because California wants to let trans people be in public or whatever. Guess what? They can have it their way over there if we can have it our way over here. The whole reason there's tension is because we are stuck in this one federal house that wants to intervene and wants to make us do it the other way. The whole that's the coercive structure. Right?
Well, that also feeds into that old thing. What's good for California is not good for Texas. What's good for Texas is not good for New York, because people are different. Different.
The problem is when you take all of those differences and insist on one power structure,
one cookie cutter answer to everything.
Find me another nation that covers an entire continent from coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist to my knowledge, right? Australia, sure, but they're an island. It's just a big one. But we are so large. Nowhere else in the world is there this insistence on diversity by coercion, right? Or uniformity by coercion of diversity. We have a government that clamps down on all the differences and makes us want to be all the same, and they suck at it, which is why we have all this polarization and flip-flopping back and forth.
Right.
And I think that's how we got to this point. There are about 180 nations worldwide, and there were about 90, I believe, prior to World War II. So where did all those extra countries come from?
Oh, they were manufactured by the victors of the conflicts.
Yeah, or something, right? No,
in some way like that. Yeah,
they created no new land. They created no new people. But over the last century, we now have, or 3/4 of a century, we now have more countries than we used to. We have more people that have said, nope, me and my guys, we're going to be independent now. And the world has tolerated that. What's that joke about every 5 minutes, some country celebrates its independence from Great Britain, right? I mean, everything used to be a British colony. Everybody's got an Independence Day from those guys, right? And the world has not imploded, either one. That idea that there's some kind of a critical mass, maybe, right? Does anybody say Luxembourg, I know you're independent, but you're really too tiny, so we're going to take, you have no right to exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
No right to exist, sorry, right? We allow those small places their sovereignty. They might have 200,000 people, and we say, okay, you can be an independent country. But boy, only in America do you take 27 million people and say, what if I was independent? And people lose their ever-loving mind, right? Where that insistence on forced unity is I think, a uniquely American construct.
Yes.
We force on the rest of the world.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. When they talk about the perpetual union, it's not, the context is not what, and I think we talked about this once before, and I think you had a really good take on it. That's not exactly what a perpetual union doesn't mean necessarily forever, and
no perpetual. We know there's no perpetual motion machine that doesn't violate the laws of physics, right?
Correct.
Even though I believe most of us that are married got up there and in good faith said, yep, me and this one till the end. We also understand that, all of
things
our
happen. Yes.
Thing, right? Perpetual is a nice idea, but it doesn't work in reality.
Exactly.
A perpetual.
And using your analogy of a marriage relationship, a divorce, we all get up there, we all say this, we all say the line, until death do us part, for better or for worse, till death do us part. Well, you know what? I don't necessarily want to die, but we have to part. This isn't working. It's an abusive relationship, and it's time to go. And I was going to make another point, but it sounded better in my head before it came out of the mouth. So
I got one I like that goes with this content. so, again, coming from a Christian background, divorce is bad, right? In my mind, when I hear the word, I don't think this is good. We should advocate for this, right?
51% of marriages end in divorce now. Do you know that?
I wouldn't doubt it, but from a Christian perspective, most of us are trained to believe that's not okay. That's bad. That's a sign of dysfunction.
Of course.
But when we talk about a national divorce, when we're talking about a marriage, we think, well, you should go to counseling. You should get some help, right? That would be better than breaking up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like? It looks like a neutral third party with some skills to help the two parties navigate their differences, right? And a good counselor, even a Christian one, their job is not to get the marriage back together. Their job is not to break the marriage up. Their job is to help these two people navigate towards what they think is the best outcome.
That's correct.
Ethical obligation of the counselor in the middle is to help these two parties get to where they think they want to go with peace and smoothness and resolution, right? Tell me, where would the national marriage counselor come from? What would that even look like in this situation? We've got this abusive relationship between the states and the feds, or between states and each other, however you frame it. Who sits in the middle and mediates that?
Right. That's a good point.
There's no such person. There's no such entity. Right. For several reasons. Number one, there might be 150 million people on each side. This is not two parties.
Right.
Jason and Joe, or me and my wife. This is not two individuals. This is two huge groups. And so while you can kind of negotiate or mediate in between individuals, there's no such way to do it on that large of a scale. Number two, who would do that, right? Who has, when I go to a counselor, I'm looking for a good one, right? One that's got a degree and experience, maybe even a license, right? Not just like some random homeless guy, right? Or whatever.
Of course.
But who would stand in the gap and negotiate the national dysfunction? What does that person look like? What would their qualifications be? I mean, could it be, you have to at least theoretically acknowledge that there could be an individual that could come in with that spirit of reconciliation and figure it out. Problem is, it hasn't happened yet in our whole entire history. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess theoretically you could say it could. Would it be another country? Like, we are famously non-intervening by funding one side of Ukraine, right? We're funding one side. We're inviting both sides over to the house and trying to make a deal like we're some kind of mediator, but really we're funding one side. Right? So there is some precedent, I guess, for this pretense of neutrality in a conflict. So could England send some representatives over and say, you guys are jacked. Y'all are messed up. We're going to intervene and keep you from whatever. I mean, theoretically, you must admit that that's possible, that there could be an intervention. But it's only theoretically possible. It's inconceivable. Like, I can't imagine of who that person would be, or what that country would look like, or how they would justify that intervention. Mm-hmm. I don't see it.
I don't either. I don't think it would. I don't think there is anything possible that could do that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
United Nations, maybe. I don't know.
No, we pay. We are them. I mean, we pay for all of that.
I know.
Be like the kid asking the dad to mediate it. We own those guys. They wouldn't be able to. They can't even do their own fundamental job, much less step into our mess when we're funding them. Yeah,
I don't know. I brother. I look at what's going on in our country, in the United States, in this American Union of which we are part of, and I like you put in your book, the idea of America, of that founding principle, that spirit of being of America is not. How do you put it? I got to find it. Unless you know what I'm talking about, where I'm getting to.
An independent will be more American than America, right? The principles of freedom and limited government and God-given rights that the government doesn't mess with, all of that stuff has been defended across the world by our people, right? We've stuck our nose against Germany and other places to defend those ideas. Okay, and those ideas are not represented by the federal government in Washington D.C. Okay, so I am loyal to freedom. I am loyal to the Constitution. I'm not loyal to the guys in the offices up yonder. Okay, is one way that I think about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I found what I was looking for.
Okay.
It's the first chapter of your book. It's called "America is Not the United States."
There you go.
All right. So, explain that to us, because I'm going to mangle it, because I'm all tongue tied tonight for some reason.
What I was saying, like when people say, "What do you like about America?" They'll talk about freedom, or they'll talk about rights, or they'll tell stories about old dead guys, like, well, George Washington, and we told the British to stick it with it because we didn't have any representation, right? We
Right.
don't, it's all nostalgia. It's all principles. It's not, man, I really like this governor in my state. I really like this president, right? We're loyal to the ideas, not to the federal government of the United States of America. That's what I mean. I mean, the ideas that we sing a song about, with our hand over our heart if we're good Americans, right?
Mhm.
That's not about pledge allegiance to the government. These knuckleheads that spend money like it's going out of style because they're printing it on the side. By the way, it doesn't actually exist. We're not pledging allegiance to that. We're pledging allegiance to the idea.
Exactly.
I argue also that pledging allegiance is a bad idea, but
Right.
for the purpose of this, we are not loyal to. I'm not loyal to the government structure represented by the United States of America, as much as I am loyal to the concepts of America that have been fought and died for.
Now, exactly, and that's exactly what I was trying to get to with this. Is that America is it's an idea. It's America is a is liberty. It's freedom. It's independence. America was founded by the independent spirit. This country, we enshrined in our Constitution, and again, and just to back up for a second on this one, because Tim Kaine, I don't know if you heard Tim Kaine's comment, Senator Kaine from
I know that
in
Hillary's
Virginia. Yeah, he made a comment that he found it disturbing that we believe that our rights derive not from government but from a creator. He finds that to be very disturbing, and he said that during a hearing with I think it was it Cash Patel, or was it Bobby Kennedy Jr. But he said that, and I heard it, and I was like, "What? What do you're a sitting senator? You're a lawyer, and you don't know that?" Well, but that's the thing. See, and people on the right think this way too. They think that government is the one that provides your rights, so they can just easily. But that's not the case. Our rights are inherent. Our rights come from God. They come from our Creator. Every human being was born with those inalienable rights. Our founding generation were brilliant and wise and put those things and codified those things, not as the government is giving them to you, but charging the government to protect those rights.
right. These are sacred things that belong to you, and the government shall not infringe them.
Exactly, and that's what America is. That's what
not guarantees of anything except for a lack of government intervention on our rights.
Exactly, but fast forward here 250 years later, people are under the impression that everything that we have is because government gives it to us and allows us, so therefore they can take those from us, those rights from us, when they can't. And that's the point I was trying to make, is that America is not the federal government. America is not this union of states. America is an idea. America is independence, liberty. It's freedom. It's not to make a mock of it, but apple pie, hot dogs, and baseball. But
right.
America, because it's not a government, this union of states came together voluntarily. It was 13 colonies that became states. Now,
Yes.
you're frozen, so I can't tell when you're starting to talk. So
Oh,
I'm sorry if I'm stepping on you.
independent entities that decided to join together for their own mutual good.
Exactly. It was for common defense and trade.
Yep.
That's all it was. Now,
Just if all the United States did in its territory was mutual defense and free trade, my goodness, how much better would it be than what we?
absolutely. Instead, you have a federal government that regulates how much water's in your toilet bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Or how fast your car can go, or how much gas mileage it's going to get, or what chemicals it can or can't emit on a given day.
Right. Now, unfortunately, we're in this federal system, so I believe in federalism. I believe that, it is the states should have the final say on what goes on in that state.
Correct.
The federal government should be so small, so insignificant, it doesn't affect your life or mine on a daily basis. That's what I want in my government, and that's what our founding generation set this up as.
Right.
That the general government, that as what they called it, the general government would be so small and so insignificant you wouldn't even know it existed.
And again, that works for both sides. California is so much happier if all us Texans weren't messing up their gas mileage rules. Fine. Be independent.
Exactly.
You can make electric cars. Cool. Right.
What you want to do, your state, do what you got to do. Don't bring it up. Don't force it on me. I don't agree with that.
Right. Let us be us. And another thing I sometimes bring up, there's this really weird story where Jesus says, unless you hate your mother, you can't be my disciple. Paraphrasing, but that is pretty daggum direct, right?
Yeah.
Unless you hate your mother, you can't be my disciple. Does Jesus mean that I should hate my mom?
Of course not.
Hyperbole to say that your faith in God should be so important to you that compared to how much you love even your mother's way down here, right? I think that's understood widely as a hyperbole. You don't really hate your mom, but that's what he said, right? When I talk about Texas independence, people say, well, you hate America. No, I don't.
You get that a lot, yeah.
I value independence way up here. And the idea of America is way down here, right? I value freedom and independence and liberty and personal responsibility and have it my way. And you should also have it your way. I value all of that way up here. And the idea of the United States of America is way down at the bottom. So I guess if we want to use Jesus's analogy, yes, sure, I hate America, but I don't hate America. Don't take that clip out of context later. Sometimes. Yes. By contrast, I value freedom and stuff.
Of course.
I'm not loyal to the United States so much as I am to the principles that made America great in the first place.
That's it. That's the clippable moment right there. I just wish you weren't frozen like this.
Sounds about right.
No, but that's a valid point. And again, just to wrap up what I was thinking before is that, this country was founded by 13 individual colonies that became states. State is another way of saying country. So 13 individual countries compacted together for mutual defense and common trade. That's the foundation of the country, of the United States, of this American Union. States voluntarily joined the Union. The states, these independent sovereign countries, created the federal government, not the other way around.
Right, absolutely.
The federal government needs to be subservient to the states, not the other way around.
Well, and so think about it after things fall apart, right? So let's just say, we'll just pick the arbitrary number of 50. Let's just say we end up with 50 independent countries. Each state independently says, I'm out on my own country. I don't see that happening, but again, theoretically. Could those states then make deals with their neighbors? Of course they can. Nobody says Switzerland can't, right? Nobody says New Zealand can't, right? So Rhode Island might decide, hey, me and Massachusetts, we're going to do free trade. And if you pick on him, you pick on me, right? People always want to say, well, you're going to let China and Russia take over the world if you break up the United States. Not necessarily. No. Free trade and mutual defense does all the jobs that keep China and Russia at bay. Only by adding all the federal dysfunction that we have do we get to this point. So, again, I think it could look very similar to what it looks right now on the good side of things.
Mhm.
We already appreciate free trade, mutual defense. Um, I think it's funny that they just renamed the Department of War. Yeah, we hadn't defended jack crap over here in forever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
The
We're in a perpetual state of war since World War
department
II ended.
somewhere else. We're not the Department of Defense, right?
No,
But an independent Texas wouldn't necessarily feel obligated to blow up countries on the other side of the world. Um, it's only the federal United States government that does that.
that's right. And
From
just for the argument, and just for the sake of argument, Texas, and this, I'm telling folks that are listening that might not know this, Texas is not the only state in this union of states that have independence movements.
Oh, definitely not.
We already talked about California, but there
California,
are several other states.
at least that I'm aware of. New Hampshire has a good
Yes.
one. They got their bills through the legislature a couple of times.
Hmm.
Progress. Alaska has had it before. Yeah, I think there were 6 or 8 active ones last time I counted. And that's just within the United States. That's not counting like Scotland wanting to be independent from Great Britain, or Northern Ireland, or worldwide. There are independence movements
Right.
everywhere. Everywhere.
Because it's a natural thing. It's not something that's fringe. It's not something that's abnormal. It's a natural occurrence throughout the lifespan of a country and a people.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for separation or I'm going to use a bad word, okay? Secession. If it wasn't for secession, the United States wouldn't exist.
Right.
The 13 states seceded from Great Britain.
Right. They did. And I think about, I use the analogy in the book about sending our kids off to college. Okay. So
Mhm.
we understand that we raise our children with the expectation that they are going to go away, please, right? And go do something else somewhere else, right? We don't say my kid seceded from my household. No, we say he grew up and he went to college, right?
Right.
Only in political terms do we feel obligated somehow rhetorically to hold on, right? The idea that we would grow something up and then let it go on its own and be better than it was living in our house, right? Be free
Yeah.
or independent. We accept that in society. We accept that with our children, but in the government, man, melts people's brains. You can't talk about that without people getting cross-eyed.
Right.
Another fun analogy of that, right? We send our kids to college and they do dumb stuff, right? And college kids are famous for just getting by, the group of guys that they have furniture that they found in the alleys all over town. They're
Right.
sleeping on, they're drinking out of Yahtzee cups, because they're eating ramen noodles, every day, all the time,
Yep.
but can't afford real food, right? But nobody says those knuckleheads doing all those things. Nobody says, well, they have no right to be independent. We have to hold them back to their mom and dad's house by force, right?
Mhm. That's true.
No, nobody says that. It's irrational. It's it's funny that people would even think to do that way. But when it comes to the idea of maybe we have a state that has matured enough to the point where we want to step out on our own and be independent, they say, well, you're not an adult. You can't do all the adult stuff yet. You're not a millionaire. How are you going to retire or whatever?
Right. Exactly. Well, I'll
We're
never
gonna
be a millionaire with the federal government over my shoulder.
we're going to do some dumb stuff. We're going to make some mistakes. We're going to have some hiccups. We're going to suffer through some of the consequences of our choices.
Of course.
And that's a part of becoming independent. That is not, that's a reasonable expectation.
Agreed.
The secessionists will say, well, you can't, what are you going to, what's an independent Texas going to do about China? Nothing. Right? Or what's an independent Texas going to do about Social Security? Well, we were not going to have it because we seceded from that, right? All these issues, sure, it'll be hiccups. It'll be, sleeping on used couches from an alley. It'll be what it is.
Right.
But independence that develops character and makes you better down the line. We allow that of our children, but nobody wants to seem to allow that of our states. That frustrates
me. And I notice a lot of the objections also come from a post-Texit
Yeah.
viewpoint. Well, what about Social Security? What about getting, what about military protections? What about this? And what about that? Yeah, okay. That's all stuff that'll get worked out through the whole process of this separation that's going to take place. Just like in a marriage relationship, you work out the details uh, through arbitration. You get the things worked out, and okay, so you're going to be responsible for this after we're done, and we're going to be responsible for this, and it's going to take this long to get to this point. And I think that's what's going to end up, how it would end up happening. So things like those post-Texit concerns and comments, well, Social Security, what's going to happen to my Social? I've been paying into it for so long. Well, you're not getting it anyway. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, that's point number one is right. Everybody under about 50 has been told their whole life that it's insolvent and it's going to die. And yet we still insist, well, what about my Social Security? But it's a house of cards.
Right.
It's a Ponzi scheme, maybe even. It is sustainable. So why do you think, 20-year-old man, that you're even going to get it? Why do you even think it's relevant? Right? We already are spending $37 trillion more dollars than we have. But sure, yeah, okay, sure. In 40 years, they're going to pay you just like they said. Right?
We're paying for the pensions for people in Ukraine right now.
Yeah, no, they're not.
And we can't even get our Social Security that we paid into for our entire life.
But number two, there already are some precedents. So if I pay into Social Security and then I decide I really like the weather in Canada or Venezuela or Mexico or wherever, if I move somewhere else to another country after I've paid into Social Security, you know what happens to your Social Security, Joe?
You continue to get it.
You get it. You know why? Because you paid in, right? They have an obligation to keep the terms of the agreement that we're under, right?
That's right.
I think that changes if Texas becomes independent. It's the same as if I move to Costa Rica. I think it's reasonable to say that in the negotiation of who gets what, right, that there will be some provision for that.
Right.
Well, these citizens that paid into your system, how are we going to reconcile that? The most obvious answer is they get a proportional payout based on how long they've paid in, and we turn it off on Tuesday, and then it stops after that, right? But there are ways. There are ways. It doesn't require war. It doesn't require fancy accounting. It just requires coming to the.
None of it does.
Problems.
None of it does. Look, the organizations like the Texas Nationalist Movement that are pushing for a national divorce, okay, to use the name of the book, they are all about going through the legislative process to separate from the American Union, and that's the way that's the only way it's going to work.
Right.
Is to go through the legislative process. Now we've come close to getting it on the ballot for the folks in the state to vote on, but of course, the Texas GOP, even though it's in their party platform, Texas Independence, seems to pull all the stops out to make sure it doesn't get on the ballot. They'll come up with last time they came up with some crazy thing about signatures and
they to not do their job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
it makes you wonder why are they so insistent on not adhering to their own party platform?
Because they have this idea that all the money comes from mom and dad up in DC, and if I'm a good boy, then I can get a promotion. That's what I think is going on.
Why? I don't think you're off. I don't think you're far off. I think there's other things involved also, but I think they get some kickbacks and whatnot. But I can't prove that. But I think so.
Here's something I like to talk about. So where does the United States federal budget come from? Simply enough, it's taxes, right? They don't generate anything. They just take from other people. So taxes. Where do taxes come from? Joe's pocket. Every tax comes from some person. Even if it's a business tax, it comes from some person eventually.
That's right.
So when you talk about getting federal funds, where do those come from? From the people of the states, right?
That's right.
So my theory here, if Texas were to take the same amount of taxes and give them back to Texans, would we not break even on federal funds?
Of course.
Because there's no federal funds. It's all money taken from us. Right?
That's right.
Every state has the opportunity to keep their own money at home.
That's right. Every state contributes to the federal government. All right, and supposedly it goes into a pot and all gets spread out and so on and so forth. And so they're giving you back your own money, but you never get back what you put into it.
Right.
So that I think I forget the number, but I think it's like something like $15 billion or something like that never comes back to Texas.
Yeah. I mean,
Now,
they have to absorb some of it administratively, right? There's
Mhm.
no they're actually giving back to the states what the states paid in.
Right.
They're assuming some of those resources. But the other thing to think about, there's this idea that there are some states that pay in disproportionately more. There are other states that are like leeches on the system or something, and they take all the benefits, and the other states have to pay for it, right? Both of those concepts. Okay, sure. Let's just say they're true. Okay. Number one, the data is impossible to find. The machine has a very vested interest in you not finding out if you pay too much tax or not.
That's right.
But let's just say, what does that look like? So California, sort of famous for being a donor state. They pay more taxes than they receive back in benefits, supposedly. So if they leave the federal government, what happens? They get to keep more money. They pay equal taxes to what they receive in benefits instead of paying more taxes for what they receive in benefits. So if you pay too much in taxes to the federal government compared to what you get, then leaving is the obvious answer, right? If you break even, if you pay in at about the same rate that you take out, it was your money anyway, right? So you don't lose anything by leaving because you keep the money that you're sending in because you break even, and that's what break even means, right? It's the same.
Exactly.
And it's only the ones who consume more than they pay that would even have any hint of a problem. Okay, but here's how you address that. Mississippi, again, famous for consumption of resources relative to what it pays in. Definitely the outlier on that. But what are they really paying for? They're paying for blowing up Ukraine, right? They're paying for transgender studies in California. They're paying for oil subsidies. They're paying for farm subsidies, paying for what's the transgender studies in Pakistan. I mean, half of the reason to leave is because we're paying for dumb stuff that we don't believe in. So all of the people have to do that would receive less federal money back is quit doing some of the dumb stuff that the feds are doing with our money, right?
Right.
The United States spends roughly 4% of gross domestic product on defense, which is roughly twice the rate of everybody else in the world. Okay, so if any state became its own country and spent the international average on defense, it would be a 50% cut of what they're spending right now, right? Mm-hmm. So again, even the states who on paper might be worse off, they're only worse off because the feds are doing too much anyway. So by seceding from that and getting to start over, again, they're fine. Nobody says Switzerland can't exist or New Zealand can't exist because they don't have all these services.
Right.
With what they have, just like every other household.
So I found a number here. So $207 billion in general revenue in 2022 from Texas to the federal government.
Okay.
And Texas received back $78 billion.
Right.
Now, don't you think that $207 billion, if it stayed here in Texas, would be able to fund all of the things that the federal government supposedly does for the people of the state of Texas?
You would think. The challenge there, again, is that the numbers, even though I agree with your point, I don't agree with it on the numbers. Let me follow this. So if the state of Texas collects money and sends it up yonder, and then the feds send it back to the state of Texas, right? Those numbers are about what you're saying, I believe.
Yeah.
But does everything that the state of Texas remit belong back to the state, or do some of those benefits go to the individuals, right? Do I get to drive on an interstate highway? Do I get a pretense of Social Security eventually, right? Those benefits are paid out to individuals, not the state specifically, um, or through other entities. So I'm okay, honestly, even though I agree totally in principle with the numbers not matching between what we send and what we receive.
Well, no, my point is more of not so much the matching. My point is that the money that is collected here in the state of Texas and sent to the federal monstrosity
Could we not?
would be
Well,
better served here in Texas and used by the Texas government and the people of the state of Texas to and the municipalities to serve the people of the state and the municipalities.
again, you recognize I'm doing the devil's advocate argument that the left uses here.
Oh, I understand. As I see it.
Yeah, other benefits. Right. But your point is the key, right? If you just kept your own money, you could just have it, right? You don't have to send it up there and then send it back. You could just, right. Yeah, I'm with you there.
So it's just it's a dysfunctional system. It's an abusive system, and it goes all back to what you said in your book. You know, it's an abusive relationship, and after a while, the abusive relationship has to come to an end.
It does, or the outcomes just get worse, right? I mean,
yeah.
Again,
now, right now, we may have a little bit of a reprieve.
We do.
Yeah, if I could say that. But what's going to happen in 3.5 years when Donald Trump is out of office and the Democrats steal that election cycle and then what? And then we're right back to Biden 2.0, and of course it's going to be even worse.
Right. So
because the left is so completely radical and so completely far left. It's insanity.
Yeah, like you said earlier, some flowers or a nice vacation don't change the trajectory of the thing.
Right.
Right now, sure, we're in a decent spot. I mean, better than we've been in a while, I believe. But that, again, hasn't changed the fundamentals that the whole relationship is dysfunctional and coercive.
Yeah.
Right? We're not, Texas isn't fighting as hard against the feds because we're in a better place. California, in the opposite scenario, though, because the relationship itself between the states and the feds is not right. It's not right. So what frustrates me a little is that the folks on the political right become complacent in times like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That their guy won. Oh, good, my guy's in. We're going to do all the things. Well, he didn't do all the things last time either. Right? No one guy can do all the things, but they get complacent and lose sight of the fact that it's actually the whole system that's the problem. It's the behemoth, the machine that's bigger than one man or one woman who's driving the school bus off a cliff. Right? Nobody cares what color the jersey is on the school bus driver if he's driving the school bus off a cliff either way. Right?
Exactly. And look, you know, I appreciate what this current administration is doing. If I was to give them a grade, like a school grade, I would give them an A-. There have been missteps, there have been mistakes, and there's been problems, and I'm still not in agreement with some of the decisions that they're making. Am I happy with the border situation? Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I'm in a border town, for crying out loud. I'm very happy, you know, with the change in the border policies and the work that they're doing. Do I love to see the amount of deportations that are taking place under Tom Homan and ICE? And yeah, you know what? I don't think they're going to be able to get out as many as they claim they would, because it took a while. It took 4 years to get him here. It's going to take a long time to get him out. You got to find him now. You know, one of the numbers that I saw recently was they were talking. I saw a clip that Tom Homan did with Bill Maher, and he said something about like 10 million or 12 million came in over the 4 years or so. But there were another number I saw was there were 52 million illegal aliens in this country right now. 52 million. How are you? I'm sorry, you're not going to get them all out of here in 4 years. And
maybe you don't. Maybe you need to. Maybe you don't. Right. You know, part of the problem. Again, I'm non-traditional here. Surprise! I believe in a lot of things that people don't take for granted.
Sure.
But you know, my ancestors moved here from somewhere. Your ancestors moved here from somewhere.
Sure did.
They didn't, and now we're part of this thing, right? And I can say 6 generations ago, this became my thing, and now it's my thing because I've been here forever, right? Um, the people that are like that, the people that say, there are better opportunities over there, and I can make a better place for myself and my people over there. I can follow the rules over there and win instead of following the rules and having arbitrary governmental mess like maybe El Salvador, Venezuela, or some, Guatemala, some place that they're coming from.
Right.
Where corrupt as our government is, it does still manage to function because the rules don't suck too bad. There are other places the rules and the Constitution, the freedoms are worse, and the government sucks, right? So, I mean, I get the idea that I want to move over there and make something better for myself. Those folks, okay. It's the ones that are, well, they have more free stuff over there, right? Their taxes will pay for me to get a phone when I get there, or whatever. The ones who are like, I have no actual skills, and so maybe I'll go up there, right? That's not that. To me, that's different. My challenge with the Biden administration on immigration was not that it existed; it's that it was unregulated, right? They were letting in everyone willy-nilly, no screening, no vetting, no nothing, right? I think human beings have the right to try to make themselves better, try to get themselves into a better position. Again, a little libertarian, right? But migration of peoples is a natural right. Borders are made up by governments, right? But all that to say, the way I say it sometimes is, if someone knocks on my door and says, "Can I come in your house?" Okay, I have the choice to be hospitable or not. I can judge them based on whatever appearance or credentials or whatever kind of interview, and I can say, yeah, you can come in my house, right? Everybody understands that. You're not obligated to let someone in your house. I view immigration that same way. If someone comes through the proper channels, someone knocks on the door, then I have the opportunity to say, yes, I would like to help you.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like enter my house ever. It's you got to come through the door, because what happens, Joe, if you go through the window?
Oh, you come through a window of my house, you're going to get shot.
Bingo, right?
Yeah.
We understand that, coming into my house uninvited, unannounced, through improper channels, that puts me at risk of my life, and I have the authorization by law to use deadly force there.
Correct.
Right? That's to me not the same as coming to the door and knocking and saying, "Hey, may I?" Even if the answer is no, you may not. Right?
Correct.
That's the way I look at immigration.
Yeah. You come to my door, you knock on it, you ask to come in. If I say no and you leave, you're fine.
Yeah.
But you push your way into my door, then you're going to get shot.
Yeah. If you come through the window at night, it's really, really going to be different.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So
what's interesting to me is that the law hasn't changed at all. Right? Goes back to my previous point about the law never actually changes because the government's bad at its day job. All they do is just flip how they enforce it. So,
and that goes back to what we said earlier about the instability in between administrations. You get, one administration says, okay, we're not going to enforce these laws. Next administration comes in, by executive order, of course. That's the point. Now I'm going to sign all these executive orders saying we're going to enforce the law. There shouldn't have to be executive orders to whether enforce a law or not. The law is the law. This is a republic. It's a constitutional republic. It's founded in law. It's based in law. The law is the law.
And it should.
If you don't like the law, then change the law.
Right. The fact that we have a presidential system where who's in charge makes a huge difference in terms of which way the policies go. That was never designed that way. We are, as a federal system, we were not designed to have an authority up there that could just change the way the rules are interpreted. That wasn't the game. The game was best representatives, and we negotiate and make deals. It's the best for all of us collectively.
That's right. And then the chief executive officer of the land executes the laws of the land.
That has not happened in my lifetime.
Never. No.
No. It's been broken a while.
So, as people like us who support Texas independence in the future, near future, I hope, my lifetime at least.
Yeah.
What should we be doing to prioritize and prepare for that potential independent Texas?
So, number one would be things go well when you are better prepared, right? The ants and the grasshopper story, or any of those things. If you are fiscally responsible in your own life,
Mhm.
if you raise your kids to think and act like you, right? If you get married to someone and you stay with them and have stability, right? Everything that you could do that makes you a better person makes you a better citizen of a new country. And when it goes poorly, if it goes poorly, if things unravel some way, I have this feeling that the people who already have will keep having. The people who already have not will continue to have not. Right. So,
Yeah.
number one, do the best you can by your family. Do the best you can for yourself. You will not get to a point where you say, "I wish I was less prepared than I am right now." Right.
Right.
But number two would be, you know, there's a saying that all politics is local, right? How many mayors does it take to say no? We're not doing that COVID restriction crap. It only takes one.
It takes one.
It only takes one. Small town mayor can say no. We ain't playing that stuff down here, right? Um, how many police chiefs does it take to say no? We're not confiscating the guns in this county. Only
Yeah.
take right. They
That's
have
right.
So the Lee County, New Mexico, down in Hobbs and Lovington, their sheriff's department actually declared one time that we are not enforcing unconstitutional gun laws here. So that idea of choosing capable representatives who support the things that you support at the most local level is important, because
Yep.
it'll be some governor, sure, it'll be some senators or whatever. But if it comes down to, is there violence on my street? It's going to be my local guy. That makes sense.
That's right.
Right. So again, as we prepare for future challenges, picking the best local guys, I think, is a viable strategy. I would also say, at no time in America's history have the voters thought, well, I don't really like this guy. He's the second best candidate, but I'm going to vote for him. Right. We have always had the pretense of putting our best candidates out there and voting for the one that we think will serve us the best. Right. This one's going to represent me the best, and that's why they get my vote. How's that working out? That has gotten us to exactly this point.
That's right. Yeah.
So the idea that somehow if we could just elect the right president, if we could just elect the right senators, if we could just select the right state reps, we would fix all this. Well, guess what? That's been the strategy from day one. That's the strategy that got us to this point. There's an axiom in counseling that if you do what you've done, you get what you've got. Right. Another way to frame it is, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Right. If we want independent, just voting our best guy will not get us there, because that's what got us to this point. We've got to do some other stuff. And again, local focus is one. Getting a coalition is another. We've had, I think, 12 Texas state reps that have signed the Texas First Pledge, saying that they will support an independence referendum when the time comes. Not that they support Texas independence, but they support the people having access to the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a difference.
We don't have to win. We don't have to win the hearts and minds of the legislature in favor of our position. Right. I don't have to have a legislature that's in favor of Texas independence. All I have to have is a legislature that's not scared to ask the people what they want to do. Right now, we don't even have that.
No, we don't.
But the idea that somehow we should take over the legislature with Texas independence people, cool. I would love that. Hasn't happened yet, and we've been trying that strategy. Right.
True that. Very true.
What we got to do is get people who will say, maybe this representation thing that we're supposed to be for, maybe let's try that. Maybe let's put it to a vote, and then we'll just see how it goes, and we'll figure it out. Right. That's I think, a piece of the answer as well, to get people that are willing to follow democracy to its end.
Yeah, but then the question becomes, so if the people do voice their opinion, because I forget how long ago it was, but there was a poll that I saw where people were asked about Texas independence, and 60% of the people that were polled were in favor of Texas independence. The question is, say that number's accurate, say that that's even projected forward here, and you say it's even a little bit less than 60%. It gets to the Texas legislature. It gets put on a ballot. People vote for it. I want this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Texas legislature is going to actually go through with it and implement it?
I think the Texas legislature has proven that they are scared to ask the people questions.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time? Okay, there are 17, I believe is the number, ballot propositions coming up on the next election for constitutional amendments. They're all made up bullcrap. Like, I agree that the Constitution should be amended so that we can spend some money on water. Like there has never been a question of any significance posed to the people for a vote again in my lifetime. That's where the breakdown is. The breakdown is that they don't ask questions that mean anything. They don't believe in democracy to the point where they'll take an unacceptable answer. They're only going to ask us to vote on things that they already have decided are inconsequential. Yeah, that's my take on that. Cynical.
No, that's a great point too. I mean, because I do agree with you in that. I think in my experience here, and even up in New York, where I'm from, they're not going to ask the tough questions.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Because they don't want to upset the apple cart. They got a good they got a good thing going there. They get some nice little perks. They get some recognition. They get some extra money. They get all that's great. All these little great perks of being up at the State House. And why we want to change that then? Because if we have to, if we actually do become independent, means my God, we're going to actually have to work.
Right. We can't wait on Daddy Warbucks to solve all our problems.
Right.
That they made in the first place.
Exactly. So if a referendum protects it were held tomorrow and passed, what do you think the sequence of events that would follow?
Yeah. So let me tell you how to start a war first. The way you start a war is you get all your weapons and you claim a territory and say, this one is mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not yours anymore. I've got guns. It's mine. Okay. That's exactly what, Iraq rolled into Kuwait. How did that work out? Russia rolled into Ukraine. How did that work out? Right. In none of those scenarios did the people of the state vote as authorized by the legislature to say we are on our own. Every one of those scenarios was trying to take by force what you weren't really entitled to. Fort Sumner, honestly, the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. Granted, there was a lot of gamesmanship behind that, and both sides were, that whole situation was set up because there were forces that wanted war. But my point is, if you want a war, you get some tanks. You say, this one's mine. I'm independent now.
Yes.
Right. Nobody's proposing that. Joe Biden is making fun of that. Oh, if you want to take on the government, you don't need AR-15s. You need F-15, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Situating this idea of violence and forceful coercion. Nobody's talking about that, right? So what the Texas independence movement is talking about is we use the existing channels. We use the elected legislature to authorize a vote on voting day, not some made up extra vote. We just vote when we vote, right? And then that vote triggers a legislative process. So the proposal by the Texas Nationalist Movement is that the bill passes, the vote passes, and the bill establishes a committee whose job is to go upstairs and say, hey, boss, we've got these 13 different issues that we've got to resolve before we're independent 5 years from now. Right. There is no Texit Tuesday where, we voted yesterday, so we're independent now. Bye.
Right. And I think a lot of people think that too. Like if we did actually succeed in achieving independence, that it would be instantaneous. No, there's a transition period that's going to take place.
So when Brexit passed, 2016 or 18?
Yes.
So when Brexit passed, I'm sitting with my teenage sons at the breakfast table. And I said, guys, guess what just happened? Right? You will never believe it. England decided they didn't want to be part of the European Union anymore. You know what that means, right? That means Texas is going to be independent because watch, on the other side of the world is a country that's fixing to disentangle itself from a union that it thinks doesn't serve its interest. Right? The world already knows what this looks like. It's only the American politicians that think it's going to be different. Right?
Yeah.
And there's fear because they understand Brexit work too. Now,
And Brexit clearly showed that it could be done nonviolently.
clearly. And, the predictions that the sky was going to fall and the whole economy of England was going to die and everything was going to fall apart, that didn't come true. It didn't go that way. And I would say even if it had, they still have a right to be independent in those circumstances. Right? The idea that there's going to be some big catastrophe is just fear mongering, because catastrophes happen all the time. People deal with them all the time. We don't say that gives them no autonomy, no authority. Right. So, when I could look at the international stage and say, democratically voting to start a negotiation process to leave later, what about that says war? Not a daggum thing.
That's correct.
To believe that the United States would somehow respond with tanks and bombs to what? To us voting? To us saying we would like to be independent based on a majority vote of our citizens. I think they call it democracy, right?
Yeah, it smacks of that. Yeah.
Like that. So the United States to respond with violence would have to take the role of Russia against Ukraine. They would have to take the role of China against Hong Kong. They would have to flip everything that they say is their values to respond with violence to Texas secession. Now, do I trust them? Do I think they're going to be up front? No, I don't. Or otherwise I wouldn't want to leave. But at least on paper, at least logic, it makes sense that they have no good reason to escalate to force because we are following the rules. Unlike the previous iteration where we said, oh, these guys all suck. Let's make a new convention and let's just get together and decide on Tuesday that we're out of here. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And now that we're out, that fort, yeah, that one's mine. I'm going to blow it up if you don't leave. Right? Those are two good ways to get a war. We're not proposing
quick ways too.
Yeah, we're not proposing that at all. We're proposing we do the democratic process through the existing channels to get to a negotiated settlement that requires absolutely no violence. That's why my subtitle is A Plan for Peace, right? Not because national divorce is supposed to be smooth or awesome, but because we understand it intuitively. We know that there are ways to unravel this thing that don't result in violence and war. That's where I'm coming from.
All right. So what actions do you think would need to take place in Texas, and what kind of negotiations with the federal government would be essential to maintain or enhance Texas economy?
So you have to solve a currency problem. By what units shall we trade, right? There are, I think I looked it up. I think there's 8 countries that specifically use the US dollars and another 25 that use a currency called something else that's linked to the US dollar.
Right.
What does that mean? That means I don't need Texas dollars because there's already an international precedent for I'll use the currency of my neighbor. Right. We don't have to solve the problem. We just have to agree on an exchange medium. Same thing with defense, right? Luxembourg probably doesn't need nuclear submarines because they're tiny. Right? Another angle would be if Texas left the United States and then Russia decided to invade Texas, what do you think would happen? I think the United States would be obligated to be involved.
In some way, shape, or form.
Like,
yeah.
Pick on my little brother, right? he may be disabled, but he's my brother, right? Is the way I look at it.
And then, of course, neighboring states would come to defense too, because they're not going to want to take a chance of being of becoming part of that invasion.
Exactly. Even if we weren't on great terms, there are advantages to the United States maintaining defense of its previous territories, right? You don't necessarily want the bad guys in your backyard, so mutual defense makes sense for everyone.
And then you could also argue the same logic. The United States has military installations in 150 countries around the world.
God, we should bring those back.
We should, absolutely. But the point is that they're defending other countries and other countries' borders. Why not this?
So what about, people always say, well, what about Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos, right? A big military installation right in the middle of our territory. Well, guess what? They got big military installations in the middle of all kinds of other countries.
Mm-hmm.
It works somehow. Is it an overreach? Yeah, probably. Is it a good idea? No, it's not. But does it result in violence in all those countries? No, not at all. Right? We could make some agreement that you keep the ones, or we get this one and you get that one. I mean, it becomes a negotiation.
Well, the military, the installations, the land in the installations doesn't belong to the federal government at all. It belongs to the state. So they're actually leasing that land.
Right. Yeah. Good luck getting them to leave, though, if you pull the
No,
lease.
I understand that. I'm just saying, if you want to be technical about it.
Negotiating the settlement there is the better move.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. But I'm just saying, just for a point of argument that, it belongs to us in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Things you work out in a divorce, you can keep this and I'll keep that.
You could argue that. So what is the, how do you define the proportion of the assets and liabilities that belong to Texas? Is it 1/50th? Is it based on GDP? Is it based on population?
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide, what proportion belongs to Texas and what doesn't? Yeah, that's a negotiation. It's ridiculously complex. Like, I don't even pretend to understand the ins and outs of many of those discussions. Right?
Sure.
But that's not my job. My job is to stand in the middle and say, let's work it out peacefully. There are other people. I need to trust the experts to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, I get you. All right, so final thoughts here. So what do you hope the audience takes away from this whole conversation this sprawling conversation that we had tonight?
If you've made it to this point without understanding, here's the summary. Okay, I believe that the federal government is dysfunctional and abusive to states on both sides of the aisle. And so America's best move, our best way forward, is to divide on purpose. We'll let California be California. We'll let New York be New York. We'll let Texas be Texas as independent countries that can then make deals for mutual trade and mutual defense if they want to. Meddling in social issues is what has brought us to this point of polarization. So by following the existing legal processes and using this amazing tool called voting and democracy, right, we can get to a point where we negotiate an exit, just like Brexit or just like other things worldwide, in ways that does not require a violent response. I'm very interested in Texas independence and not in civil war. Okay, so those listeners who immediately might jump, or their friends might jump to, well, yeah, we already fought that, or you just want to. No, I don't. I just want to have a good day with my family and my friends, right? A war in my backyard, doing things the way I like it, without California being able to tell me how to do it, and without me having to worry about what they're doing over there either, right? So that would be my final word, is that all we really want is independence, is autonomy that we're supposed to have, but we don't. So we're just going to use democracy to get there. Is the final goal.
Well said. Very well said. That was very good. That might be the clip for the day. Anything else that we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
So we've talked about the book tangentially. Can I sell a few maybe? So the book is called National Divorce: A Plan for Peace. It is available at national-divorce.com. National-divorce.com. You can buy it on Amazon if you think Jeff Bezos needs more dollars. But if you buy it at national-divorce.com, you can get them from me. I'll send them out autographed. That'll feed my kids, and it'll be awesome. So National Divorce: A Plan for Peace.
Can you see it? I don't think you can. I think it's the lights. Yeah.
Lighting the white is pretty bright.
The lights whited it up.
Yeah.
But this is actually my second copy.
No, nice.
I bought the first one, and then I bought this one.
Yeah.
And I bought the first one from Amazon. I got the second one from you. Yep. And I actually gave my other copy to the now mayor of the city of Eagle Pass.
That's where it's at. Right.
So
I gave a copy to Ted Cruz's minion and said, hey, the boss man really needs to see this. Right? Like I'm the way to people that are willing to take the message. I also appreciate the support if you want to buy one. You joke about it. I have mine. Mine is heavily annotated so that, again, when I'm doing these things, I can find the key points faster.
Yeah, well, that's why I couldn't find, because in the other one I already had it marked and all that stuff. So I'm not going to give him my my autograph copy. So so I had a hard time finding what I wanted to look for.
Yeah,
but it's a great book, folks. Honestly, I've read the book. It's written in just such an easy to follow, logical way. You got to get a copy of this. National Divorce, Jason Fry. Jason, thank you, man. I appreciated you coming on the show tonight.
I appreciate
I got some great screenshots of your frozen faces. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna
So
send them. I'm gonna send them to you later. Well, I'll send you my favorite one later. The other ones, they're okay.
yeah, very good. Very good.
All right. Well, Jason, you already told us basically where your website, national-divorce.com. We have all of that in the show notes. They'll all be in the hyperlinks on the audio and on the video side of it. And Jason, this is great, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show again. It's been we really haven't spoke much since the last time you were on, so it was great getting caught up with you. It's a lot of fun, and we'll definitely have you on again soon. You'd let me know when it's good for you, and we'll work it out. And thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Jason Fry, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Podhome.fm is the most modern and easy to use podcast hosting platform in the market today. Use it to publish your episodes, enhance your audio, and automatically generate transcripts, chapters, titles, show notes, and more. And you can even podcast live. You could also get your own website through Podhome. Everything that you need in one affordable subscription of only $15.99 a month, just $15.99 a month. And if you go to podhome.fm today and sign up, you get 30 days free. So 30 days free and then $15.99 a month after that, and you get a whole team working for you. That's exactly what it feels like. When you publish your episodes, it feels like you have a whole team working with you. So try them out, podhome.fm. That's podhome.fm. All right, folks, also don't forget to head over to the website, joeroos.com. And when you get over there, you'll see this little pop-up on your screen. Sign up for the email list. It's just a programming email list. We're not going to kill you with a bunch of like spam. We're not going to send you stuff you don't want. We're not going to try to sell you anything. All it is just information about upcoming shows. We don't sell your information. We don't share your information. It all stays local with us. And you know what? It's free, which means it don't cost you nothing. So sign up for it. All right. 1, 2, 3, you'll be on the list. Also, don't forget, check us out on, of course, all of our socials. On Twix, that's what we call X now. Twix, Twitter, X, Twix at Joe Roos, Truth Social at Joe Roos Minds. Great platform, Minds. Got to try them out. Joe Roos, Facebook, Joe Roos Show. Instagram is not Joe Roos because they banned me before I even finished the sign up process, but they let that one get snuck through. So not Joe Roos. And then on TikTok, Joe.RoosGetter at Joe Roos as well. Also, our shout outs to our producing team, executive producers, Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, and Marissa Lee. And of course, our anonymous Angela, our producer, our inestimable, okay, I'm going to stop trying to use that word. All right. Anonymous Angela. Fantastic team we have here right now. And these are folks that are donating their time, their talent, and their treasure. So we really do appreciate it. Wouldn't get anything we got done here without them. So if you want to take part in that, you can head over to our website, go to the support page, and you could sign up for a monthly recurring donation of $17.76. That gets you associate producer. You can sign up to be a producer for $18.36 a month. Also, executive producers are $25 a month or more. All the producers get the shout out on every show, just like you heard. You'll also get included in all the show notes, all the emails, everything that goes out from the show. Why? Because your donations help us produce the show. Therefore, you are producers. So thank you so much for that. And of course, what I forgot, the executive producers get to have a segment on the show with us live so they can talk to the audience and get the feedback and present whatever it is they're looking to talk about. As a matter of fact, just as a reminder, on Wednesday, we have our Wednesdays with Wayne Rankin, our executive producer, will be on the show Wednesday, second hour, I believe. So make sure you check it out. All right. He's building a studio. He's getting his own podcast ready to go. So he's excited about that, and he loves to talk about it. So check him out on Wednesday night. If you want to help us out with cryptos, you could do that too. Our wallet information is up on the website as well. Ethereum, Tether, Bitcoin, Texan coin, which we didn't talk to Jason about Texan coin. Forgot, slipped my mind, but we'll talk to him about it another time. Texan coin, you can do that as well. All of our wallet information is up on the website, so check it out if you can. If you have the means to do it, we appreciate it. And of course, we also have a number of folks that are streaming sats to us right now. Sats are just micropayments of Bitcoin. They're streaming these sats to us across the modern podcast apps like Podcast Guru, Fountain.fm, Podverse, Pocket Casts, all those great apps. And you can find those at modernpodcastapps.com or podcastindex.org. All right. I think I covered everything. So thanks again for taking the time to be with us tonight. Don't forget the website, joeroos.com. Send us over any messages, questions, comments, cares, or concerns. And folks, don't forget, make Texas independent again. Go podcasting, keep a steady stride, and keep talking. Good night, folks. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great one.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then.
Who cares about the clouds if we're together?
Just sing a song and bring